D.C. police say 34-year-old Daron Wint is a suspect in the brutal killings of the prominent D.C. couple Savas and Amy Savopoulos, their 10-year-old son Philip, and their housekeeper inside this charred multi-million-dollar mansion. Wint's girlfriend told police he fled to New York on a bus Wednesday night, according to a source familiar with the investigation.
Just about every law enforcement officer across the country are looking for him. I think even his family has made pleas for him to turn himself in.
We're learning more tonight about Wint's past. He served briefly with the Marines but left before completing basic training. He's had numerous run-ins with police and more recently worked at American Iron Works, the construction company where Savas Savopoulos was CEO.
It does not appear that this was just a random crime, but there is a connection through the business of the suspect and the Savopoulos family business.
A major break in the case came Wednesday when ATF forensic specialists recovered Wint's DNA on a pizza crust, according to a source with knowledge of the investigation. A nearby Domino's franchise says it delivered pizzas to the home that night and left the food at the door, unaware the family was bound with duct tape inside.
It is incredibly brazen. It shows an element of calm, that the person didn't feel rushed.
Investigators say Savopoulos' assistant dropped off around $40,000 in cash to the family's house, but the assistant was apparently told not to come inside. This as we learn more grisly details about the murders. Philip Savopoulos had stab wounds and was killed before he was burned beyond recognition.
Certainly it was a sadistic killer. The son might have been used as the tool to make sure the parents were compliant.
Hi everybody, I'm Thomas Roberts. I want to start with breaking news that's coming out of New York City right now. Our NBC news station WNBC reporting that the NYPD is questioning the girlfriend of 34-year-old Daron Wint. Officials picked her up from her apartment in Brooklyn. Now, she's not under arrest. Wint is the suspect in the murder of a D.C. family. And at a news conference just over an hour ago, police said that Wint had worked at Savas Savopoulos' business in the past and that this was not a random act.
I think we have now established that there is some specific connection between the suspect and the victims here. So this was not random. Hopefully we will have Mr. Wint in our custody very soon.
So police have searched Wint's last known address in Prince George's County, Maryland. That's less than a half-mile from where the family's blue Porsche was found burning. The big break in this case coming after police matched links to the DNA found on the crust of a Domino's pizza that was delivered to the mansion last Wednesday as the 4 hostages were held captive inside. Following the story for the Washington Post is reporter Keith Alexander. So Keith, what do you make of this latest turn in the investigation, the fact that Wint's girlfriend in Brooklyn has been taken in for questioning?
Right. Obviously, the New York police want to find the connection, want to find out where Wint is, and they're going to everyone who they can to learn this information. Now, what they do know is that Wint is not in the Washington area. They believe that he is in New York, and they believe that his girlfriend may know his whereabouts.
So Savopoulos was the president and CEO of American Iron Works, and police say that the connection is something through the employment history in the past there. Is that what your sourcing and your reporting has been putting together as well as we try to figure out how Wint knew this family?
That's correct, Thomas. Yes, Wint was a certified welder for this iron ore company, and so yeah, he worked for the company for some period of time, and that would explain how Wint knew about the layout of the company, how he knew that the company kept cash on hand there at the company. Because remember, $40,000 was delivered to the home the morning that the family was killed and the housekeeper were killed. So it would take someone who was on the inside who knew A, the whereabouts of where cash was kept, and also B, that the family knew and somewhat felt comfortable with.
Washington Post reporter Keith Alexander. Keith, thank you for your time. My colleague Francis Rivera is back now with what more we know about the suspect in this case. Francis.
Yeah, interesting to hear. Slowly we're learning more about this suspect, 34-year-old Daron Wint. Police haven't released any information alleging a motive or whether, they're now saying that he was connected. He knew the family. But here's what we do know, that Daron Wint, 34 years old, police describe him as 5'7", 155 pounds. They're offering a reward of up to $25,000 for information leading to a conviction. He is wanted on a charge of murder one while armed. And according to the Associated Press, records show that he has a previous conviction here. In 2009, he was convicted of second-degree assault. Then he was sentenced to 30 days in jail. And then a year later, he pleaded guilty to malicious destruction of property. That was in 2010. Another charge of burglary in that case was dropped, court records show. So, Thomas, police say they have information that he was an employee. As we just heard, he was a certified welder there with the American Iron Works in the past and had that connection with a family. And also want to bring this up also, the family's Porsche that was torched in a parking lot in suburban Maryland. One court record lists a home address for Wint that is less than a half-mile from where that car was found burning. So again, the very latest that we're delving into, with investigators now questioning his girlfriend in Brooklyn. Thomas.
Francis, thanks so much. I want to bring Jim Cavanaugh into our conversation now. He's an MSNBC analyst and a former special agent in charge of the ATF. So, Jim, we know that Wint remains on the run right now, but describe the efforts, because this is a multi-state operation now. What are the efforts being made to capture him?
Well, the Fugitive Task Force, usually headed up by the United States Marshal Service and the NYPD, will be leading that effort in Brooklyn. And no doubt the Metro DC Police will send some of their detectives up there if they think Wint is still located in Brooklyn. But they'll be debriefing, Thomas, the girlfriend, to see when was the last time you talked to him. Did he give you any indication he was involved in this? Did you know anything about it? Did he tell you he had any extra money? Was he trying to get here? Do you know where he is now? And to see if she can shed any light on his current whereabouts.
So from what you've heard and read about this story, do you think this really could have been Wint being a one-man operation, or that there could have been someone else involved helping him?
Yeah, it's hard for us to tell right now, but whenever you have like 4 people and they're all tied up and there's a lot of logistics involved, investigators all suspect that there may be more than one actor. But it's possible that one person can do this, and here's why. The person can get into the house early, maybe when just the housekeeper's there and maybe the mom, and he could tie them up with duct tape, put them in a room upstairs. The little boy, he could certainly do that. He's a very muscular guy. He's a strong guy. He's a young guy. And then he could wait for the dad to get home, and all he'd have to do is control the dad with a knife or a gun and duct tape him up as well. He orders the pizza, Thomas. He thinks he's too clever by half by destroying the video cameras inside and burning down the house and later the car. But this crime's too complicated for this guy to get away with, so he leaves his DNA. And the crime scene processing by DC Homicide, ATF, excellent work, to find this, the DNA, and the DNA lab, maybe the FBI forensic lab that got this DNA. So great work all around. They got a warrant. But he's extremely dangerous. He's even dangerous to people he knows, because he's already killed 4 people, and now he knows he's wanted. So he's become even more dangerous than just killing the 4 people, because if he thought nobody knew he did it, he might, just sort of slip by. Well, but now that he knows everybody's after him, he's really dangerous.
Well, and it seems like the scope is getting smaller for him to travel in, as police have now taken into custody his girlfriend, or taken her in for questioning. What we're getting right now is that potentially Wint either took a bus to NYC to get to Brooklyn and get to his girlfriend, stay overnight with her, then left her apartment early in the morning hours, but there's no indication of where he is right now, except that during the DC police chief briefing, they said that anybody should consider him to be armed and dangerous. He also goes by the name of Stefan. That's his alias, Stefan Wint. But how critical do you think that having questioning and time with this girlfriend will be to figure out his mindset, where he's going next, what he could have planned?
Well, that's a great question, a great point. It's fresh. The reason it's important is it's fresh. He stayed overnight with her. If that was last night or the night before, that's pretty fresh. So they can at least put his whereabouts there, within so many hours. They know he's taking public transportation, so they can have the lookouts at the railroad tracks, bus stations, and so forth. But he's at risk there, because those are places that are full of law enforcement officers and cameras. I wouldn't be surprised, Thomas, if we see this guy try to carjack somebody. Nobody's life, he doesn't care about him. He'd just as soon kill him, throw him in the trunk of the car, and steal the car and, head south. So He's a candidate to carjack and harm and murder. He could be on public transportation, certainly. I think if he tried to get through an airport and pay cash for a ticket, he'd be apprehended pretty quick.
Yeah, as you point out, it's a desperate and panicky time for this guy right now as, again, the police circles start to close in on him. Do you think, though, that this was really a shakedown for 40 grand and that then he want to murder 4 people, or something went wrong? This was more about the cash than it was about taking lives.
Well, you know, it's hard to say, but the motives for violent crime surround, you know, greed, power, hate, revenge, and escape. And in this case, certainly greed has bubbled up to the forefront with the extorting the cash and great hours and pain and planning to get this money. And he likely stole watches and diamonds and jewelry as well. But was there a secondary motive? You know, you can have mixed motives in a crime, multiple motives in a crime, of maybe revenge. He may be mad at the company, maybe Mr. Savopoulos because he was fired or not paid enough or mistreated in his view. So there could be a motive of financial greed and revenge, but we just don't know. But certainly theft plays a large role in this. And this guy's flush with the cash, but he's got nobody to turn to, Thomas. You can see that. He's got nowhere to go. I mean, who's he going to call? Because everybody's going to want to turn him in. He's just too scary to be around.
MSNBC analyst Jim Cavanaugh. Jim, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.